All right, guys, we are in officially. It is June 19th. Happy Wednesday. I know that some people are going to be taking the day off, like I said, but I appreciate you being here, being in this moment, and being present with me. It means the world. And so, as always, we're going to kick this thing off. I'm going to have somebody bring us out on the field on this beautiful Wednesday morning, and that person is going to be Blessing. She just threw her hands up. She knew I was calling her. I don't know how we do this. It's electric between us right now, Blessing. It's just electric. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you bring us out on the field, share your sentiments, share with the people what's on your mind, what they need to hear, and just hit them with it. You've been here before. You know this routine. That's your cue.
Okay, it froze a little bit. And I'm going to bring in my very, very special co-host of the morning. Come here, kid. Because I got this kid up at 7:30 and we were on the court this morning. And sometimes we have to set the example and show up in a way that pushes us. As you guys know, that he has been killing it with his basketball game, and I have been a happy mom on the side. But sometimes we have to get on the court. Sometimes you have to step out of your comfort zone and set that example. And you might hurt a little bit. I'm in pain. But at the end of the day, for this kid to see that his goals are possible, for me to root him on means the world. So whatever you're chasing, like, just go for it.
I love it. And Big Dog, your mom is so proud of you. She talks about you every single day. She just, you are the light of her life. You are her sunshine. So appreciate you being here. Get back to doing your thing, Big Dog. Enjoy your day off.
Thank you.
Love the energy.
Cool. Yeah, that's right. All right, guys. So I'm going to throw it out there. If you have the ability to be here, be present, put your cameras on. I want to see your smiling faces for this beautiful morning. And I'm going to share a sentiment with you. I saw a quote this morning, but before I get there, I'll allow people to throw their cameras on. Cool. Thank you. More people, throw your cameras on. Let's be here. Let's be in this moment. So I want to share something with you. I read this morning. I thought it was applicable to what we do here in coaching. And the quote goes just like this. If I'm pushing you to do better, it's because I care about you more than perhaps you see in yourself of your own growth. What I mean is that if I'm pushing you, and sometimes you may not be able to see it, you may be like, God, why is he so hard on this? Why is he always pushing this? It's because sometimes I already see it for you. And sometimes you don't see it because you're just in the mix of it. And you may not even see that for yourself. Some of you do, some of you don't. If you have friends who let you sit in your comfort of your bad habits, they do not love you as much as the ones that encourage your growth. So what I mean by that, you guys, is surround yourself with people that are not going to allow your bullshit, right? Are not going to, I'm doing okay. Oh, good for you. No, like, tell me more. What are you doing? How are you pushing yourself? Surround yourself with the people that are going to elevate you in life, that are not going to allow you to live a life being status quo. I want the friends around me that are going to call me out on my bullshit. That's what I want. That's what I need. That's what I have. And so I encourage you guys to get those circles of people around you that truly, truly care about the growth and will not settle for your bad habits. If you have that drinking buddy that just allows you to drink yourself into an oblivion and then you spend 2 days recovering, it's probably not the person that's encouraging your growth. Maybe that's a, once a quarter type of friend you want to hang out with and get drunk with. But that's my point. That's my sentiment. Let's get right into the status of the market. And I'm glad that our lending partners are on the call today, but I want to give a word of encouragement to everybody out there. Now, no matter what the strategy is, no matter where you're writing, we understand that right now, and I'm going to pull up an article, it's a very weird market. In some markets, it is leaning heavily into a buyer's market. And what we're seeing in some counties, that the average days on the market are at 30, if not 30 days or more. And here's what I want to encourage everybody to do. If you have that buyer that's looking, they're getting their feet warm, they're not necessarily ready to write, but we feel we might have a good opportunity, I want you guys to encourage your consumers to shoot their shot, right? If you know that the house has been on the market for 30 days, if you know that they're motivated and it's at list price, I want to encourage you guys just to shoot your shot, see what happens. Maybe you get a counter, right? And maybe you just start that communication, and maybe they even accept that offer at list price. You guys, I've seen it happen time and time again. It's happening now. I'm seeing offers get accepted, also offering a credit back, even if they know they probably could get more if they lasted a little bit longer on the market. But we got to understand the motivation of the seller. Some of these sellers have impending events. Some of them want to be able to move, get to warmer climate. Maybe they had a loss in the family. Maybe they're having a child. Maybe they're just done with all this excess space and they just saw your offer and said, you know what? That's the offer that makes sense to us. It's a clean offer. The terms are really good. It's close to what we want. Let's just go ahead and accept that offer. So I want to encourage you guys, as you're out there shopping with your consumers, if we know that the house is in a competitive area, it's okay. I want you to encourage the consumer just to shoot their shot. Get your offers in and see what happens. And I promise you, you'll be surprised. And oftentimes the listing agent will say, yeah, well, we've had a lot of traction. We've had a lot of activity on the home, but they have nothing in writing. They have no offers that are coming in. And so there might be this idea of scarcity when it comes to your sellers, depending on the sellers, depending on the market. So my word and my sentiment for you guys today is just shoot your shot. Shoot your shot. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't have to have the perfect strategy on every single home. Now, obviously, the very, very demanding homes, the super high profile homes, yeah, you're going to have to come up with a different strategy. But for the average homes in the market right now, you guys, shoot your shot. And I promise you, good things will come from it as long as you're out there shooting your shot and not overthinking the strategy. Before we go further, does anybody have any sentiment on that? Does anybody have a recent offer that they wrote that they just threw it out there and they were surprised with the feedback that they got from the other side? Anybody want to share any thoughts, any sentiment? All right, cool. I thought I'd get a couple hands on this conversation. Let's go, Blessing. Let's hear from you. And then anybody else, if you have some recent experience on just shooting your shot, even though you felt that we weren't even in striking distance and what the results were, let's hear from you. Let's go, Blessing.
So Jessica and I just submitted an offer for a couple that we just met, and the house was listed at $599,900 in Antioch in a pocket that doesn't have a bunch of turnover. So even though like not having a lot of turnover made this house really desirable, we looked at all of the comps, all of the appreciation. He was very analytical, and we ended up writing an offer that was at $580,000. And we, again, looked at all of the comps and submitted the offer. And I'm just like, we'll probably get a counter. And they were fine with that. I thought that really we would get rejected flat out, and we didn't. We actually held and were countering up until they had a huge life opportunity that caused them to withdraw the offer. But from the listing agent, she was letting us know that there were other offers coming in. We submitted it on Friday, and other offers were coming in. And she kept asking, like, would we increase our price? Would we increase our price? And I said, we are very open. I didn't say we're very open because I didn't want to sound desperate. We are open to looking at a counter if this price doesn't work for the seller. And it was never a flat out rejection. So we were in the mix all the way up into the end. I was very nervous because, going in that far under list price just isn't common for the area, but we were in it, and I'm pretty sure we would have gotten the counter if we were able to stay in it.
Well, and I love this, literally $20,000 less than the asking price. And that offer was right there in top consideration. You guys are going to see that in a lot of markets right now. Some markets, you're still heavily in a seller's market. Some markets, it is leaning towards a buyer's market. In this particular case, for that particular house, that is a buyer's market opportunity. And so I'm curious to know what they actually get in contract for. I would trace that or track that sale to see exactly where they landed. Good stuff, Blessing. Awesome. Let's go to Stephanie, and then we have Otis, and then I'm going to share a couple articles with you guys and some slides from last week. So let's go, Stephanie.
Hey guys, yeah, so I just wanted to share, we just got into contract in Pittsburgh. So the property had been on the market for 55 days. It was listed at $575,000. Think it was definitely overpriced. They dropped it $25,000 to $549,000. We came in under asking for $15,000 in seller credits, and they accepted our offer. Why? Because the seller The home is paid in full, and the seller's in the middle of making some business moves. He needs to sell this house, right? So we went in under asking for 15K in seller credits, and they accepted our offer. And we're doing 2 grants and down payment assistance. And they're accommodating all of it.
Wow, I absolutely love this. And we talked about this, and we've been talking about this, about being aggressive. And I'm not saying over aggressive. And sometimes you're going to have to be over aggressive and release contingencies. That's not the type of aggressive that I'm talking about. I'm seeing being aggressive with writing the offer and just shooting your shot and seeing if you can shoot your shot at list price and then start that dialogue and start those negotiations. So Stephanie, what a huge win for your client. Love that. Love that story. Let's go to Otis. Otis, what are you experiencing, big dog, and what's your contribution on this conversation?
Oh, congratulations, Stephanie. That was amazing. Me and Shally, it was about last week. This Wednesday, we thought we were going to get in contract. There was a house in Richmond. And it's crazy because this house is like Richmond, but in that kind of triangular point on the opposite side of the mountain where it's like your comps are going to run Richmond, El Cerrito. And it's crazy because the listing agent super overly priced the house. They were on market since January. They started at $1,049,000, fell out. They got back in contract at $980 and withdrawn and fell out again. And the agent just was making it so hard. We tried to put in a preemptive offer and he wasn't trying to go for it. And we were trying to give him $950 as a preemptive. And then the buyer kind of just went backwards on us and wanted to only offer $875. But hindsight, even though we offered that, we still found ourselves in a seller multiple counter offer. And I thought it was an easy sale for me to tell them, like, let's just go up to 900 because they didn't want to budge. And I was just like, you guys had a pre-approval at 950 and you guys were comfortable with that payment when we wrote an offer, but then you guys wanted to kind of lowball because for whatever reason, I just couldn't understand. The reports looked it really clean, so it wasn't like the house was priced low to make you wonder if it was a foundation issue or something that was completely wrong with this house. I think they just tried to get back what they wanted. So he counted us 980. They didn't want to come up nothing. And we just kept calling all up until yesterday till it actually went pending. And we just didn't get it. He said that they got something way, way over ours. But I'm just really intrigued to see what that number finally was to see if we were even close. But I mean, it's just sometimes, even when you're experienced and you try to tell them, hey, hey, Elias, I know I'm trying to tell you to go up $50,000, but that's probably only like $200 to $300 more on your monthly payment. Is that super deal breaker? In this case, going up to the 980 was 700. So I get them saying it was a lot, but they kept saying it was their dream home, but they just didn't want to pull the trigger. So sometimes, setting that expectation and showing the numbers with your lender and being really locked in with them and be like, hey, can you show them a payment at this? Can you show me payment at that? Can you show me payment at this? Just to keep throwing the numbers at them. Sometimes they budge, sometimes they don't. This is one of the times that they didn't want to budge and it hurt. We didn't get in contract.
Yeah, and you know what? Sometimes they have to fill a loss. And I know the loss is, we experience that loss as well, but sometimes they have to fill that L to know that, hey, Otis's strategy was probably the better strategy. And is this house worth us losing for $50,000 over the span of the next 30 years? Is it really worth it? And or is it worth losing it? And if it is, it's okay. We'll continue shopping. We'll continue to find another home. But oftentimes the consumer needs to write because they need to feel like they had the decision, that they are in the right, when in hindsight, your strategy probably would have served them better, but they have to come to that on their own. And so good stuff, Otis. Let's go to Damian. Back over to you. It's a surprise you're not in the gym this morning, big dog. Let's go to you.
Happy Juneteenth. No gym this morning. The babies are home from school, so I got to sneak away later today.
All right.
But, in terms of the market, especially in the East Bay specifically, it just seems like we're back at a point to where listing agents are listing way lower than what their sellers are looking for, and it's impacting the days on the market. We're seeing homes that are sitting 30 plus days, but it's not necessarily because there's something wrong with the properties. It's more so because of sellers' expectations. And specifically Alameda too. I've been writing a fair amount of offers in Alameda lately, and it's just not even close to what the asking price is. So I've said this a lot and I'll keep saying it. Communication with the other side is probably the best way to go. Like comps and and analytics are always helpful, but talking to the listing agent is going to get you closer to the goal in my experience. So keep having those conversations, because it's not always clear cut and according to what the previous sales are. Is a lot of times about those sellers' expectations. So again, where we assume that there's something wrong with the property, or there might be a deal to be made because it's been on for a little while, that may not always be the case. The seller just might be waiting for a specific number.
That's right. That's right. Well, good stuff, my man. I love it. I love the contributions, you guys. I'm going to pull a couple things up right now, and I want to kind of recap on some of this stuff. By show of hands on the screen, give me an emoji on the. Oh, sorry, Mel. Let's go over to you. I saw your hand up. Let me go over to Mel really quick. You're driving. Let's get to your contribution before I click to the next screen. So, Mel, I'm going to step away for a second. Go ahead, Mel.
Okay, so I hear you, Dee. I mean, you were just saying always talk to the listing agent, and I get that. I mean, building that rapport is so important, and it's something that I pride myself on. I feel like, you know, as agents, we're really good at building relationships with our clients, but also with the listing agent. But what do you do when the listing agent is just an asshole? Like, honestly, because sometimes, I mean, I know you guys feel me, because sometimes listing agents are just straight up assholes, and like they just play games, and that's what makes it super unfortunate, not only for their client but for yours as well. And they're not transparent a lot of times. And I found that, I mean, a lot of times agents will be nice, a lot of times agents will be transparent, and they will work with you for the greater good. But straight up, like, I had an experience at 5800 Florence Terre in Oakland. It was in the Piedmont area, or Montclair Hills, excuse me. And I mean, we went, I'll just tell you guys this, I'll spare the details. We went 975, and this guy ghosted us. I mean, didn't even answer the phone for a week. I thought he had died. Well, come to find out, they just closed on that house at $940,000. So why would we offer 975 and him not take our offer, and then go ghost us and not have any type of a communication with us and close on that property at 940? I don't know. Chalk it up to the real estate chronicles, honestly, because it's a mystery. But I'm like still looking for the dude, because I want to sit him down and just have a conversation with him. Like, hey, what happened here? My clients and I really went above and beyond. We really, you know, wanted the property.
Double-ended.
We were willing to do whatever it takes to get the property. Our offer was obviously higher than the one that you accepted. So what happened there? Did he double end it? I don't know, because it says out of area agent for buyer's agent. So it's just sometimes like that. It's an unfortunate situation. And that's, I think, what gives some real estate agents just a bad rap. Like, answer your phone, be honest, be transparent, tell people what it is, and let's put a deal together for both of our clients. That's my thinking, and I think other people think that way, but unfortunately they do not. So that's my story.
Yeah, and you know, that type of stuff pisses me off too, because it's just common courtesy and respect. But I think two things could have happened here. This is my speculation, excuse me. One, obviously it could be a double end. For someone that asked in the chat below, it's if you're the listing agent, you also represent the buyer as well. That obviously could have happened. Or the buyer or the seller could have said, hey, my friends want to buy this house, and, you know, same thing. So they could have brought in the lead. So I don't know, but let's have this conversation really quick before I go any further. When dealing with a dickheadish person, jerk of a person, non-communicative person, somebody that is just cut dry, you know, and it's really, really hard to communicate with that. How are you guys addressing that? Right? Like, how are you addressing with that? How are you doing a velvet hammer type of conversation to say, hey, Melody, maybe we got off on the wrong foot, or maybe you're having a challenging day, but I'm wanting to have open lines of communication with you. So I was hoping that we could start over, because I want to do what's in the best interest of my client. And I know that you're probably overwhelmed with tons and tons of calls right now. So I want to reset. How can we better communicate so we can get to where we both want to be? Because I feel that there's a disconnect and I don't know what happened. Sometimes people need to be called out on their bullshit in a very, very respectful way to make sure that, hey, Why are you acting like this? Why we're equal, right? We're both in this game. You have a real estate license. I don't care how many zeros you have in front of your real estate license number. I don't care about that. What I care about is the best interest of our client. So sometimes people are just jerks and they need to realize they're being jerks, but we need to call them out in the nicest of ways. So I'm curious to know how you guys are dealing with the jerks. I'm gonna go to me and let's go to you, because it happens to all of us. And that shit boils my
yeah, I had to respond directly back to mail. Like, yeah, that does happen. And they're not always going to be as transparent as we want. But with our experience, it's a little easier to navigate through the bullshit. Like if I'm getting answers or I'm getting information back that doesn't match up, everything short of an argument, we're going to debate about. We're going to discuss it. Like I just had that happen with one of these Alameda agents the other day. He's trying to tell me that my clients can go to another lender, and I'm like, hey, the offer we submitted, they're putting $300,000 down. The financing isn't the issue, and this guy is just trying to like tutor me through it, and I'm like, no, that's not how it's going to go. We're going to talk about what the real issue here is, and that's your seller's expectation, which happened to be him. He had a piece in the house. But again, just weeding through the bullshit with your experience, that helps the communication too, because it doesn't waste our time. We're like, no, you're not going to keep going back and forth on semantics. We're going to talk about what the particulars are. And if we can't reach a deal, we can't reach a deal. Like, it's not going to happen every time. But at the same time, keeping people honest to what the facts of the situation are, we're going to get closer to a win, or we're not. I mean, again, it's just not going to happen on everything, but that is fucked up for them to take a lower offer than her.
Yeah, for sure. And then no communication with her.
And I would just gotta say, like, D, you're way nicer than I am, because you don't even want to know the text message I wanted to send. I'm about to send all the badasses Team Fast and tell them about this listing agent.
Well, too, though, I feel you. I wouldn't have stopped. I would call the brokerage, like try to get in touch with the broker just to get some kind of communication, because that's just not cool to leave you on red like that and not respond.
Yeah, and also I wouldn't even hang on for it that long, because it will fester. We move on, find other opportunities, but definitely it would piss me off too. But let's go, Otis. Otis, how we dealing with these jerks?
Oh my God. I didn't had about maybe like 3 or 4 agents threaten to call ethics on me, because I was like, man, at the end of the day, I can feel Mel on that. I had a similar situation where, I told them I had a VA. They came in, we had a more than clean offer. I kept trying to tell them, you had nothing in the MLS updated. It kept saying show. You kept saying it was, it's been on for 1 day when I asked you. And then on the day 3, when we were scheduled to go, you still hadn't called me back. So day of the appointment, I'm trying to call him, and he's like, not answering. And he goes, oh yeah, we sold the house. I said, dude, come on. You think I'm an idiot? Like, been on for 3 days. Like, you know what I'm saying? You just told me you didn't have the fucking lockbox or a combo box or a super on there. So who just made it? I'm like, come on. I was like, I just can't for the life of me see how you didn't even honor like the appointment that was scheduled. I called you, I texted you, I emailed you. I said, I feel like I'm stalking you over here. I said, I'm trying to do the best for my client who really wants this house, and you're not even giving us the opportunity. And he said, you're making assumptions already. I'm like, how could I be making assumptions off the facts that are given? You never even acknowledged the appointment, cancel it, acknowledge it, anything like that. Now you want to tell me that you already got an earnest money deposit and everything? I said, I know you guys could have had something off market lined up maybe, but this is seeming kind of funny. Are you representing the buyer as well? Because I mean, like, who just came so fast like this? So nothing happened over 3 weeks. It wasn't pending, and he just wouldn't for the life of me talk to me. So that was one instance. And then another instance, I was partnered with Stephanie, and she had these clients, and she asked me to go show, and then they kind of really had a good rapport with me, and they asked, since I was aggressive, if I could try to make an offer on this listing agent, because we were kind of going back and forth on it, and I got on him so hard about the facts. He just told Stephanie, hey, I don't want to talk to that guy because he just pressed it too hard, and I get you guys are trying to do it. There's no lengths that I'm not going to push for my sellers or buyers. I mean, although I'm going to keep it on a professional level, I have no problem calling a person out on their stuff. We're not human. I mean, but there are rules and regulations that we got to abide by, just like if we were in any other profession. And when people don't do that, they don't understand the impact that it makes. And I mean, that's money out of you, out of your pocket. That could be a buyer or seller that you lose off of someone else's negligence. Like, how do we
Right.
not know that person with Melody is like, they find it out and it was like, you know, you're not a good agent because I gave you more money and you couldn't close this deal on my house. Like, you got to deal with a lot of stuff like this. So I
Yep.
think if you're out here really pushing the line, like if you're not ready to go all full in for your clients, can you honestly say you really are doing that? So I mean,
Yeah.
those are just some of the situations that I had where I've called out somebody like, no, bro, you're double ending this. This makes no sense. Or having some type of knowledge of knowing like if you see a LLC on there, someone else who hasn't has the amount of equity put into this house or anything like that, go harder for them. Tell them like it's bullshit, right? Like you guys are going to be seeing no 100,000 over here. Like let's try to be cautious of where your seller is really trying to see. And it's like the LLC, you have a part in this, so you're going to try to stretch it as far as you can. But you're not the average seller that stood here for 15, 20 years and gained all this equity. So come on, what is it going to take for us to get a deal? Like really pushing people's line and trying to get a low ball offer or something where you probably shouldn't be flirting that, but I mean, if you don't have no problem pushing the limit,
It
that's
broke
good.
up a little bit on the end there, Otis. All right, sorry, it kind of broke up for me in a second. Are we good? Can you guys hear my audio okay? Otis, really good contributions as always. And, we're all going to deal with this. And last bit of information or thoughts on this. You can either put yourself in a position of power, or you can say that I'm positioning, right? And I think oftentimes a listing agent puts themselves in a and they think like, oh, I'm in power now. I have power because I have this listing. And I don't think it's the right way to think about it. And for all of you guys on the call that are aspiring to be listing agents and listing agents, the ones that say, you know what, I'm just positioning, meaning that I am putting my consumer in the best position. I'm going to communicate effectively. I'm going to build relationships because my relationships are going to go far past this listing, because in the future, when that listing agent is now writing on your listing that's listed for 1.2 million, you're going to remember that person. You're going to remember that this market is small. You guys are going to probably cross paths, and he's got to live or she's got to live with her conscience and her karma. And I think that we have to say this is all about positioning, not about power. And I think sometimes people take that power and it goes straight to their head. And so really good conversation. I appreciate your contributions, Mel. Thanks for bringing this up. I'm going to share a couple things with you really quick. And I'm going to share my screen really quick. Let me pull something up. Let me pull this down really quick. All right, cool. All right, so let me go here. So there's a recent article, and I want to share this with you. I put it in the chat down below, and I want to share this article with you. So there's a recent article that came out from the San Francisco Chronicle, and it says homes listed in San Francisco have been on the market for over a month. What you're going to see in this article is it says, in the reality, it's a bit different. In May, 55% of homes for sale in San Francisco and San Mateo County region were listed for a month or more without finding a buyer, according to a new report. Well, it's actually a little bit lower than it was this time last year. This time last year, it was right at 58% of the homes were on the market for 30 days or more. You guys will see here on this report, you could see like Sacramento, last year at this time, it was even higher. Now, the point is that the houses are still sitting in certain markets. And so this is an opportunity for you guys to really negotiate. It says here in Alameda and Contra Costa County, about 44% of homes for sale in May were listed for 30 days or more, according to Redfin. The lower figure is likely to do partly because the suburban cities like Walnut Creek and Dublin, where demand for homes surged as remote work became more common. I thought this was a really, really cool report. There's some stats in here, some figures in here. You see this report here, these graphs. Use these things to your advantage. And I always say that when you're sitting down with a buyer, when you're representing the seller, these are conversations that you need to be having. So I thought this was a really, really good article. Also, I want to share a couple things with you guys from our last week's session. I'm not sure how many people on the call were at our annual meeting with our California Association of Realtors chief economist. I thought that this was a really, really powerful session. I'd love to hear from our lending partners about some of their key takeaways. But here's a couple things that I want to share with you guys, and I want to reiterate, and I want to go through some of this information with you. Now, there's tons of stuff here. If you're in our Slack channel, you have access to this. If you don't have this, I want to make sure to share this with you. How many people have you spoke with in the last year that have said that they are waiting for the crash? Has anybody had that conversation with anybody that, oh, those naive people that say, I want to wait for the crash? Stephanie, I see your hand going up. Elizabeth, Serta. All right, I'm going to wait till foreclosures come back in the market, which I hear that all the time. I have a buddy that's been saying that for years. Now, what I thought was really, really powerful was this slide. Now, there's tons of slides. Feel free to go through the data yourself and kind of pick and choose what you want to use for content or how you're going to update your own consumers. But a lot of home equity preventing REOs and listings. If you see here on the left-hand side, where did it go? Sorry. If you see here on the left-hand side, let me pull this back up. In Q1 of 2013, you could see that 1 out of 3, less than 20%, 1 out of 3 had less than 20% equity. So at that time in our market, it was a very, very volatile time, and it left people in a very scary place that they would be upside down, that they owed more on their house than what it was actually worth. Well, when we look on the right-hand side of where we're at, Q1 of 2023, Q4 of 2023, it said 95% have at least 20% equity and almost 90% have at least 30% equity. So when you look at a report like this, Jeff, Christina, Stephanie, when you see a report like this and a consumer says, well, we want to wait till the market crashes, how can we leverage this type of information to update consumers? And are you guys seeing this? Are people talking to you about this? Are you guys having these types of conversations? I would love to hear from you, Stephanie, Jeff. You guys were both in the room last week. Love to hear your vantage point on just that slide. You can go first, Steph.
Can you bring up the slide again? Sorry.
Yep, here we go. Boom.
Okay, low home equity preventing REOs and listing. Okay, yeah. So basically, when I'm talking to people, I do hear that a lot. Like, I'm going to wait for the foreclosures to come. Okay, there's no foreclosures coming. Okay. People are sitting on mountains of equity right now, and the 3% interest rates got them into chokehold. Nobody's making a move right now, so the houses that are on the market, go for them. And I keep telling everybody, I just had this conversation 2 days ago with somebody who said he didn't want to proceed because the rates are too high. I'm like, okay, well, you're renting right now. You're investing your money into rent where you're not getting any type of return, right? I'm like, versus getting in right now and you're going to watch your money grow, because equity, even though the rates are higher right now, which historically they're not even high. My first home, I had a 6.5% in 2007. Rates are pretty normal now. And I keep telling them, you need to get in where you fit in, because real estate, especially in California, is still continuing to increase. The equity, people are making money on real estate. So if you're sitting on the sidelines and you're waiting for the perfect time to enter the market, there's never a perfect time. You got to get in where you can, right? So just jump in. If you can afford to buy a home, buy a home. Because like he said, Jordan, yeah, like Jordan said last week, the best time to buy real estate was 20 years ago. And the second best time is when you can afford to do so, right? So if you can afford that payment, get in, buy a home, and start watching your equity grow, because it will. The houses are not coming down. And I lost a home in 2010, and I tell them, the laws have changed a lot. We're not going to see a flood of foreclosures like there once was. Everything is totally different than it was 2010. And I keep telling everybody, don't get advice from your auntie, your uncle, your cousins who bought a house one time, many years ago. Every market is different. You need to speak with market experts who have data to show you the actual trends that are happening.
Totally. Absolutely. I really appreciate your contribution, and thanks for your insight as always. Let's go to Blessing. I want to go to Jeff. Jeff, you probably have some contributions on maybe this slide or another slide, but Blessing, let's go to you really quick, and then I'll continue to share my screen. Let's go, Blessing.
Yeah, I just wanted to extend Stephanie's thought, is that most consumers don't realize the amount of documentation that has been implemented since 2008 on the lending side and even on the real estate side. We know that every single time that there is a change in a law, a regulation, that we get at least 3 new forms added to the process to protect the consumer. So when it comes to, you know, these predatory lending rates or products that were out, or just just like the ARMs, like all, especially those adjustable rate mortgages that were so prevalent during that time, like the education and the due diligence that's in place to make sure that consumers are truly aware of the lending that they're going through is so, like, it's a vast difference from 2008 to now. So just being able to educate that if anyone's thinking like we're going to go back to that time, there's so many different footholds that have been put in place to prevent that and make sure that the consumer is well educated. And it's our responsibility to make sure that they are, and that they are going through the disclosures, and we're not paraphrasing, but letting them see the documentation, because then we can end up not creating a 2008, but just that miseducation in our consumers.
Totally. And guys, I love this. And I'm just thinking about this. How can you use this and leverage this as a video? You can literally have this as a green screen and show people why the people that are saying, oh, we're going to wait for the crash, or we're going to wait for foreclosures to hit the market and maybe get a deal. That wave of foreclosures isn't coming based on the data right now, right? Based on the data, it says homeowners are in a really positive position versus where they were at 10 years ago. So we're at a completely different market than what we were. And those people that want to sit and wait, always waiting for the best deal to come around, they'll be waiting for a long time, while the others are sitting there building wealth in real estate. Jeff, I want to hear from you. Any thoughts, contributions on the slide? I got a couple other ones that I want to share with everyone.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, my computer was going crazy and stuff. So, but I mean, one great event last week. Jordan was really cool, very relatable, good speaker. But it is a completely different mindset today than it was 15, 16 years ago. I mean, I went through it, and at the time I worked at Chase, and there's so many things different. One, to Stephanie and Blessing's point, we underwrite completely different. So people that have loans nowadays are much more we're much more prepared to continue to make their payment, even if things got a little rough. So we underwrite completely different. Two, people that own homes now have, for the most part, incredibly much more lower interest rates than owners had back in 2008, 9, and 10. To Stephanie's point, they had 6, 7, 8. There was a lot of ARMs that were adjusting, so that created problems with their payments. So it gave them more incentive to walk away. And then a third thing that I think has really changed from a psychological standpoint is people that went through 2008, 9, 10, 11 and did do a short sale or a foreclosure and regret it. And maybe they built their credit back up and they were able to buy another home and they're homeowners again. But they look back and said, if I just would have stuck it out, I probably could have made my payment. But I saw everybody doing a short sale and everybody getting out, and I was underwater by $100,000. Now they look back, and that home that they short sold and ruined their credit for 6 or 7 years is now worth, probably triple what it was worth back at the low in 2010 or 11. So just the psychology of a foreclosure, where people are at from a qualifying standpoint in terms of the job lenders have done for the last 15 years, and then their equity position. Of course, that's an easy one to point to, but there's so many different factors that are not going to lead us down a path of a foreclosure crisis. Nothing like we saw previously. So, to everybody's point, Blessing, Stephanie, you're missing out. And Christina says this a lot. Don't focus on the rate. It's so easy to focus on the rate. Just focus on the payment, what you can afford. When you go buy a car, you don't talk about the interest rate. You talk about what the payment is and if you can afford the payment. So if you can afford a payment for this house, then go forward with it. Don't look for reasons or things in order to put it off and wait, because you're just going to dig yourself a bigger hole.
Yeah, totally. I love it. I appreciate your guys' contribution. Let's go to iPhone 3. I don't know who that is, but you had a question or a contribution.
It's me. I don't know why. something happened to my Zoom, whatever. Anyway, just to Jeff's point, I think a lot of times the consumer, I was back there during their time frame. That's when I got out and stayed out until now. And the thing is that people focus on rate, and the reality is that the payment is not that different, based on whatever the rate is, and whether it's a quarter of a point, a half a point, is not that much to cuss about. So, you got to get those clients to understand that point.
Totally.
It's not that big a deal.
That's right. I appreciate your contribution. Let's go to Christina, then we're going to shift gears. I got a couple other points that I want to share with you guys. Let's go, Christina.
All right, cool. Sorry, I missed a little bit of the other one because I was actually on the phone with a client, and it's so funny. This sparked like same conversation. She was calling me. She was referred to me by an agent, and she told me, I'm going through the process with her, explaining her getting pre-approved, ask her what her credit is. She's like, well, I have a down payment, $40,000. I'm like, okay, great. And then she tells me that her credit score, she's like, what's the minimum credit score? And I went over that, and she's, 580 for FHA. And she goes, oh, well, my credit score is 540. And then my son's is 515. And I was like, oh, and I said, I thought you had gone through the pre-approval process already previously. And she was like, oh yeah, but since I'm putting 40,000 down, my credit score didn't matter. And I was like, I'm like, who's telling you this? So really, I mean, as much as we all talk about it, I'm like, I don't know who told you that. And I said, I didn't tell her that, but I'm like, unfortunately, no, we do want to start working on your credit, and that's where it's just that misconception is we don't do those type of loans anymore. You can put $500,000 down, but if you got credit score at 500 or 450, which we've seen, we're still not going to trust you on lending you money. So really just continuing to put that message out there, because it just bogs my mind still what unfortunately some people still think.
Is that my line, Christina? Is that mine? Is that me? Is that ours? But hey, I wanted her to put that out there. That's cool though, because I mean, as a newer agent, you're gonna believe anything your buyers is telling you. And she's telling us left and right. There was 3 or 4 offers she was trying to put on a mobile home, and then we couldn't even get that to go. And then she goes, oh, I got my son now. Now we're gonna get a single family and help us. So I mean, you got to really keep it a buck. Your buyers be lying to you, so you got to make sure you're not just writing a offer to please them or to get in contract. Don't fall for the bait sometimes. You got to make sure it's facts and they have the stuff.
Yeah. And it's once again, you guys, and I'll say this until I'm blue in the face. Oftentimes consumers are sheep and they're led by a shepherd, and that shepherd is sometimes the media. It's misinformation. It's somebody that didn't steer them in the right direction until they meet you. You are the professional, you are the expert, you are the doctor, you are the CPA, you are the lawyer, and the words that you say are gospel. That's why coming to rooms like this and really practicing and hearing how to articulate the reality of the market is one of the most important things that you guys will do in your career. This is why we do these every single week, no matter what. Let's go back to this here. I want to go to 22. Oftentimes, people are fixated on the rate. And what I loved about this is that rates are one thing, but life happens. No matter what, if you have a family and you're living in a condo and then you have another child and you only have 2 bedrooms and you're trying to have space for everybody, you need the kids to go outside. Think about births. It says here from 2020, 2023, there was 1.6 million births in California alone. And look at how many deaths happen in California. Look at immigration, look at people moving out of state. So oftentimes we think about the rate, but more importantly, it goes deeper into the motivation of the consumer. Why are they wanting to purchase a house? And I don't care if you put me in a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom house with all of my family, it's just not enough. I'd be willing to pay a 7.5 interest rate if it meant a better quality of life for me and my family and the opportunity for us to build. And depending on where some people live, their average rent is $3,000. If you stack that up over the next couple of years, they're close to $100,000 that they paid in rent. So you have to think way past the rates and understand that there's impending events. There's life circumstances. There's opportunities to move. There's opportunities to go places where their kids are going to college. My daughter might get accepted in ASU. We're not moving it to ASU, but the point is some families may want to move there if they didn't have little ones. They want to go and be in the sunshine, grandbabies, all these things. So oftentimes we think about the rates, but consumers might not even be thinking about the rates. They might be thinking about the quality of the life and impending events that they have in their life that are forcing them to buy, move, sell, so on and so forth. So don't always fixate on the rates, because that's not always the issue. This one here was probably one of the most powerful ones that I saw, and I'm going to keep this for the final conversation piece. And let's go here. Oh, sorry, you guys. All right, 37. This here was one of the most powerful slides that we saw last week. Now, you can see on the bottom line there, that is renters, and this is the benefits of home ownership. They're well documented. If you look on the middle line here, this is all families, but on the top line here, this represents owners. And what you see is, you see the distance of wealth that's being built in the United States of America versus people that own homes versus the people who are renting. Now, obviously, we understand that at a very, very high level, but a consumer needs to understand that owning real estate opens up so many more doors for them to now leverage the equity that they have in that house to go on and continue to build on that foundation, to build that legacy, to build that wealth, to leverage that wealth, to diversify that wealth. And what you're seeing is in this report here is it shows that the people that own homes are more wealthy in the United States of America, despite how much income these people make, because there's renters probably in this category that are making a significant amount of money, but what they're doing is they're not leveraging, they're not building off of that, and they're not diversifying that money. And that's what the people are doing that are homeowners in the United States of America. So when you guys see this slide here, what comes to mind? Is there any thoughts that you guys could share with the consumer? Is there a video that you guys could drop about this slide right here? Because I think this one was one of the most easy to understand. Any ideas surface or come to mind when you see this slide right here for a thought about how you can make a video based on this information right here? I would love to hear from you guys. Love to hear your thoughts inside as we come full circle in this conversation. Any thoughts and ideas on that slide right there on how you can use that to your advantage as a hook on social media? Anybody other than our usual suspects? All right, so proof that home ownership creates generational wealth. Absolutely, I hear that 100%. Let's go, Christina.
I actually, sorry, I'm walking outside, and of course, a leaf blower just turned on next to me. But I actually featured this exact slide on a story the other day, and I got a fair amount of views, I guess. But I was pointing out, the wealth gap between renters and owners.
I love it. And Joanne, I think that if you got traction as a story, that should be a reel. That should be a reel. And I would just go back in and I would create it as a reel, because now it's gone 24 hours. I would create it as a reel. Let's go, Christina, and then we'll go Samiri. What's your thoughts when you see this? And then we'll go to Brandy. Let's go.
I think it's important just so people can really see. Right now, buyers, I feel, are a little bit nervous and hesitant. I think if we shared this, they could kind of get the long-term goal. If they're able to get in now, just do it before they get priced out. That way, in the meantime, they can build their equity, start building wealth. And then if it's an interest rate that's concerning them, they can always refinance later if things change. So it's just, instead of renting, get into something now so that you can get your foot in the door and then just build off of that.
Totally. It kind of reminds me of our grandparents, right? Our grandparents, a lot of our grandparents were immigrants that came to this country, saved up as much as they possibly could just to buy a house for their family. And most of our grandparents had those houses. My grandparents had that house for, 50 years. And they bought that house for $11,500 in 1961. And my grandparents passed away at 99, then 93. Right? When you think about that, all they wanted to do was just have something that they actually own. And they were able to build their life off of that one home that they purchased. And that's where all the family memories, that's where the pasta was cooked, that's where the lasagna was made, that's where the kids grew up in the backyard, that's where my cousin Brian got stitches on the back wall because we were climbing it. Like all the memories, because they chose to spend that $11,500 and work their ass off to get that. But then they separated themselves in this wealth gap in the United States of America because they own. So really good stuff, Christina. Let's go to Samiri, and then we'll go Brandy. You'll close this out.
Yeah, so yesterday, during my door knocking conversations, a lot of the owners there, that's what they loved about being able to buy at at a low rate back in like 20 years ago, like 2002. Many of the homeowners in the neighborhood that we went had 20 years plus in that neighborhood, and they were just loving how much equity they have built over the time.
Sorry, what was that last part?
They loved how much equity they built over time.
Totally. Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is the separation. This is a separation in the United States of America. Let's go over to Brandy. Brandy, thoughts, contribution on the slide, and then we'll come full circle. And thank you, Samiri.
So I did some content kind of, I think a few weeks ago about the value of home ownership. And what I did is I went into my mom's group and I just said, hey guys, for those that have purchased recently, it was actually a River Islands mom's group, but I said, for those that have got, because I know a lot of people that had moved out here, that was like their first big purchase. And so I said, what did that mean for you? And I had so many responses. So I took everyone's response and created this reel. So, because for me, you know, for everyone, homeownership, the value of it's going to look different. But I took all the different responses and it was so awesome to see, like, I related to some, and just their story of, you know, and I put it into this reel. And I think for renting, I know for me, I just didn't know what my goal was. And that was the conversation that I actually had with Ashley. So I think that's what ties it, of like, for people that do rent, they just don't know, oh, if I just make this much more, maybe I need to get a second job, or that they're just, you know, they're just misinformed on what their qualifications and what they're approved for. Because I know that's where I was like, oh crap, now this is my goal. Okay, let's go from renting to home ownership.
God, I love this. So, Brandy, let me ask you really quick. I'm going to pull up my screen. Which video was it?
On the front, it says,
out of the ones on my screen.
Let's see. Go down. Keep going. Right there. What does home ownership mean to you?
Okay, cool. And I love this. I love that there's 167 likes on this. I love that there's engagement on this post. Now that shows you that there's something. And then did you go and did you read some of these on this video? Some of the responses that you were getting?
Yeah.
Okay. Where are those? I don't see that part of it. Is this what the people responded? The control space?
No, it was in a mom's group.
Okay, so here's what I want you to do. Step 2 of this. Take those responses that you got back from the moms group. Like, hey guys, I posted a video last week of what home ownership means to you, and I want to go through some of the comments that I got in my mom's group. Susie said this, Samiri said this, Stephanie said this. I'd love to hear from you guys what home ownership means, and let's continue this conversation. I think that's powerful, right? It's powerful to share the actual quotes from people and what they said and what it means to them, because now everyone's relating to all of those comments that are actual from your consumer, or from your mom's group. I think that's really powerful.
Yeah, that'd be good. Okay.
Really powerful. So you guys, really great stuff today. I appreciate your contributions. As always, Wednesday's designed to have a high-level conversation about the market. Now, what I want to encourage everyone to do is, if you're still sleeping on these sessions, like, get involved in these conversations. Raise your hand. You are a public speaker. You are a public figure. You are a public image. And these conversations are going to come up. So if you can throw your name in the hat today, next Wednesday, or excuse me, the weekend after, wherever it is, but get yourself involved in these conversations, it's going to make you that much sharper. It's going to make you that much sharper. So anytime a consumer talks to you about the market, oh, we want to wait until all the foreclosures hit the market. So what leads you to believe that we're going to have more foreclosures? Oh, it's just really, and then you share that data with them, and then you debunk what they're actually thinking. Like, wow, Stephanie, thank you for that. I didn't realize that, right? You are supposed to be the beacon. And the only way that you're going to practice this is by saying these things out loud in events and communities like this. So let's come full circle. I want to get a couple key takeaways. Let's go over to Cynthia. Cynthia, one key takeaway from our time together, and then I'll go over to Jackie, last takeaway, and then we'll wrap sesh. Let's go, Cynthia.
Key takeaway from today's session would be that I feel like we are, it's a very interesting time, that it is, like you said, could be leaning towards a buyer's market. And I didn't hear this, but I'm just going to throw it in there. I think that we need to be, pulling up these buyers and getting them ready for, what is going to benefit them the most. That we're negotiating for them, and that it's just time to help, especially new buyers, people that are new, to get in the game. And it's kind of interesting because my daughter just bought a house, and it was just an amazing experience for all of us. Unfortunately, the situation changed, but it's okay because I'm still involved indirectly.
Yep.
So being a part of that process, her stepmom had just built a house from the ground up, valued at $5.5 million.
Wow.
And I don't even know anybody who could buy it, but I'm sure as hell looking as if anybody out there that knows anybody that has that kind of money looking to buy, let me know, please. So that we can try to get that going.
Yes. All right. Well, hey, good contribution, you guys. Unfortunately, we have to stop there. I know we had mentioned doing a hike on Friday. I have to cancel that or postpone that for this Friday, and here's why. My daughter came home from the Boys and Girls Club and said that she signed up for a talent show. And I was like, a talent show? She said, yeah, I'm going to do gymnastics as my talent, but I need your help with my routine. I'm like, okay. And then I asked her when it was. It's actually on Friday at 1 o'clock. And so that has to trump us doing the hike. So let's plan it for the next couple weeks. Next week, I'm actually going to be on vacation with my family. My mom, my stepdad are coming up. So group coaching will happen on Monday, but Wednesday and Thursday group coaching will not happen. So I'm going to take this next week to spend time with the family. But I will be on and present for Friday as well as for Monday. But we do have to postpone the hike for this week. You guys, one last thing before we head out. Talked about us all reading a book together, and I want to make a suggestion. There's two books that have came up over and over and over in my world. One is Unreasonable Hospitality, and it says here, the remarkable power of giving more than they expect, which is in direct alignment with what we do. And the other one is The Power of Moments. This is a New York Times bestseller. This is coming highly, highly recommended by tons of people. So I was thinking that if we all want to get on the same page, I think it's this one. And they're both really good books, but I think this one, just reading the preface and the foreword and hearing about this book, I want to encourage everyone to get this book. Weekly, we'll do a quick download of what you learned, what were some of the thoughts, some of the takeaways. So I think that if we can read a chapter a week, spend a couple of weeks, maybe 2 months reading this book, I think it would be powerful. So I want to encourage everyone, go get this book. Unreasonable Hospitality. We're going to go through some of this during coaching, and let's take our shit to the next level. You guys, thank you for being here. Thank you for being on. Thank you for being present. And as always, keep it moving towards your dreams, goals, and vision, and go out there and crush your week. Peace.